Well, as usual, no one shows up yet. Okay. Oh, I shouldn't be so negative. Oh, well, I am. Let's see what's going on. Could anybody even see? Hey, Violet One, good to see you as well. Hey, someone showed up. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Our Valiant One. I said Violet One, Valiant One. Good to see you as well. Yeah, let's see what else is going on here. Let me turn this off in case. Well, new pin chat. You can now pin chat. I don't know. Well, okay, we'll leave it at that for now. Got it. Just see, got it. All right. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's talk about. I don't know how to. Well, I guess you can use video with StreamYard, I heard, but I'm not sure if that's the case. I do not have the aquariums anymore. I got rid of them. Thank you for asking, Valiant One. I got rid of them this year, all of them. The only thing I have left is some guppies in the pond outside. Just all I have now are my son's animals. We still have his budgie that we've had now for 6 years. A pet rat and a gerbil. So, yeah, and gerbil. So, anyways, no, I got rid of them because of my health issues, and because I don't know, man. I think I need to get a haircut or something. Anyways, just too much. But at one time I had, it was a real blessing for me. I had 36 of them at one time. This whole room was full of aquariums. Every wall was full of them. So it was cool to spend a couple of years of my life for something I always kind of dreamed of having. So all praise go to the Most High for that one. Lord of all spirits, thank you. And yeah, thank you for asking. Do you have any aquariums, Valiant One? Yeah, I just health issues and all that. I didn't even think I was going to survive this winter. Well, let's talk about this thing they called the Georgia Guidestones. If you go to Twitter, if you got a Twitter account, uh, yeah, blown up or coming from up or coming up famine. Yeah, it's good that you brought that up because that is very symbolic of what's going on. See, 42 years ago, they erected the Georgia Guidestones, and they decided on the 6th of July, uh, 2 days or one day after CERN being lit up again, and the one particular one that everyone knows about. There's, of course, there's multiple CERNs throughout the world. Um, and if you think about 42, and I'm not Zach Haber as far as someone who spends his time in gematria. But if we look at, say, in the Bible itself, 42 generations leading up to Joseph, the father, stepfather of Jesus, it was the end of uh, an age, a time, 42 generations. Of course, Joseph wasn't literally Jesus' father, according to scripture. Um, but Joseph was the end of that lineage. If we look at the book of Revelation, 42 months, the last 3.5 years leading up to the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple and fulfilling all things, that was the another symbolic number for the end of an age. 42 months. Now we got 42 years, and they also had to mirror it or mimic it with the 7th of July as well. The end of an era of an age. Not a very long age or era. Era is probably a better way of saying it. But why would they take it down now after the past 2.5 years? If one would even maybe think a little bit in the very beginning of 2019, there were things going on that's led up to this point. Not only with the repo market and 30 something trillion, gosh knows what the numbers really is, of dollars that were stolen from pension funds and retirement funds, as, but also this whole idea of if you go along, if we look at the poisonous injection, if you will, and eugenics itself. And the truth of the matter is, the Georgia Guidestones is a monument to eugenics and the maintaining the world's population and reducing the world's population to below 500 million in perfect balance with nature. Now, mind you, what they said below 500 million. So, what does that constitute? Well, that could be 499.99 million, or it could be 100 million, or it could be 8 million, or it could be a whole bunch of us. Now that they have accomplished what they have accomplished with the poisonous cup and the poignard, the jaboa, jabaloo, they and they've had the vast majority of people in this godforsaken place partake of it. We're hearing endless reports of heart attacks, miscarriages, stillbirths, People become sterile from it, etc., etc., etc. Maybe they felt like that's the first, they had the first step. Now, and this year, we're now seeing fuel shortages and food shortages. Food shortages, fuel shortages will equate to where you're talking about, Valiant One, of famine, which is what they intended along. But they must memory hole their monument to their fellow members of the craft. And it's not solely uh, with Freemasonry. When you see of R.C. Christian, now I don't mean to offend anybody who's Roman Catholic, but it has been, it's established in the past to make a difference between other Christians from Roman Catholics, R.C. Christian, Roman Catholic Christians. Now you can say it's the Rosicrucians, that's fine. But the Rosicrucians don't have and never have had the kind of political clout that the Roman Catholic Church, and particularly the Vatican and its priestcraft, has had on the West and in the world for that matter. When we look at its influence, in particular the Jesuits, and their influence in the educational system, and the medical system, and the political system, etc., etc., etc. Why would they mimic the Ten Commandments? Why? Well, there's 10 commandments in the Old Testament, isn't there? And the 10 commandments in the days of Noah, or not days of Noah, days of Moses, was a representation, a new age in the Mosaic age, under the Mosaic law. Unfortunately, if you believe it or not, and if you don't believe it or not, it still doesn't really change the fact that Jesus fulfilled all things and therefore has put the kibosh on the burden, the curse of the law on us. Now you and I can have a personal relationship. Oh, yes, that's right. That gestation. Oh, yes, you're right. I also did some research on this. I can't remember 42 months gestation period. That's right. There's, oh, you know what? I should look this up myself. Or if you have, bring up other things that have gone on, because I forgot. There's other things that happen in the number 42. Not only is gestation period, the birth of a baby, or a human baby, right? But what happens in the 42, in the number 42? And I probably have asked the wrong question. What happens? Oh, there it is. What happens in nature in the number 42? Oh, yeah. Oh, now I know why I bothered to even pick up this book, which I haven't bothered to read yet. But this is, I'm like one of the few human beings that have not read this book yet, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And that number is represented in this book. Very important number in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The answer to life in the universe and everything else, MIT News. 42 is especially significant to fans in scientific novel, Douglas Adams. Well, we have the same last name at least. I wonder if this is going to be worth to hear. There's other things that happen with the 42 as well in nature, along within the Bible. I'm in the wrong spot. I get myself sidetracked anyways. But now that they're doing that, let's see. Why not? Let's look it up. It's worth getting sidetracked once in a while. But you're right, 42 gestation period. Proof that 42 is the answer to life, the universe. So there's a lot of they're forcing this upon us. Um, three plus three equals 42. Of course, 3 is a very significant number. And also, there's this when it comes to the prime number 3. Also, there can be there's also the 369, which are important. All right, and which is just going off a little bit. Yeah, I'm losing it here with my focus. I wasn't really focused on this. Hash add numbers. The sum of the first 6 positive even numbers. 42 is the last natural number below 100 that can be expressed, and the sum of 3 cubes. There's 42 in the atomic number of molybdenum, something like that. 42 atomic masses of the natural occurring stabilizing isotope of calcium. The angle round about the whole degree for which a rainbow uh, Bible, obviously, determined by the Babylonians in 79 years, Mars orbits the sun almost exactly 42 times. And of course, we know the Mars is a symbol for war. And where else can we go with all this? Which is interesting when we talk about war and the hypothetical efficiency of the converting mass of energy as per EMC square by having a given mass orbit or rotating black hole is 42%, the highest efficiency yet known in modern physics. And anyways, there's a whole lot of things about 42 that I'm missing. Lafla, I didn't look it up. I did a video about it, or I thought I did a video about it. Maybe I did. I didn't bother publishing it. But I did a couple months ago about the month number 42, and it just went over my head. I wasn't even thinking of it until a couple hours ago when I said, "Oh my gosh, it's 42 years." 6 and 7 is 42. Uh, the 6th of July is 42. And I'm sure Zach's going to do something brilliant to just break it all down. So I'm not going to waste my time. But what I wanted to talk about is why they're doing it now. The memory holding of this monument. A monument that for the vast masses didn't even know existed. The vast majority of Americans, even after all these years of people like myself and others, trying to bring this to light, and much more famous people than me, far more famous people than me in the internet world. And yet the vast majority of Americans still didn't know about America's Stonehenge until now, and it won't matter that much. Why? Because it will be memory hold. And within a year, what few of us that knew about that knew about the Georgia Guidestones, it will become a distant memory. Those who never thought about it all, it won't mean anything. It won't mean a thing. Why did the rulers of evil blow up? And I don't believe it was just a couple of kids, although they'll try to blame it as they always do on some lone nut or whatever. But why did they blow it up? To memory hole it. For what is about to befall us is not fear porn on my part. I, along with thousands and thousands of other people, have been trying to warn others of the coming disaster, man-made disaster, with food shortages, energy rationing and shortages, the war that will be expanded beyond what's going on in Ukraine. I wouldn't be surprised if Ukraine has something to do with 42 as well, but whatever. And and Mars, and it's 42 times around the Earth, the Sun. It's right. In 79 years, orbits around 42 times around the Sun. What happened so they had the nuclear war that was going on, or not nuclear war, the bombs, alleged bombs that were dropped. And I say strongly and emphasize strongly, alleged bombs were dropped in 1945. If we look at that, I mean, that's 55 years plus 20 is 75 years. Then we add on 2 more, that's 77 years. And you add 11 more years. It's 77. What does that make? 11 over. So, yeah, between 2033 and 2034, which is a very important date to the Jesuits, it will be 79 years. And they're preparing us for a global war. In order to get everyone involved in a war, they need to put us in a state of mind and condition to be willing to send our children off to war, ourselves be willing to die for such a war, just as they did before World War I and World War II. And this time, of course, is for all the marbles. And this is all part of the Albert Pike's 3 World Wars. And if you were to look at Albert Pike's Third World War, you would see exactly how it's falling into place. And one of the things is the elimination, the removal of the Abrahamic faith. That's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And usher in their new religion, which is an old religion, called Luciferianism, which is nothing more than man-centered worship. If bombs are real, the fallout isn't as long and as damaging as they claim. I totally agree with you. And I went to school for environmental science and I studied a lot of this. And I remember way back when, as they claim, and it could be real on the other hand, they rule with fear. Yeah. So when it comes to let's look at Chernobyl. And it was interesting that when the war started, back at the beginning of this, well, when it did, and that sacred date, which I can't remember now what date it was, that they started their war, they're preparing for since 2014, on both sides, by the way, not only the Ukraine, but also Russia and the United States, right there in the midst of it all, as usual. I'm trying to think here. The war. Oh yeah, Chernobyl, and how they had the nuclear meltdown, right? And within and I swear to God, I'm totally convinced of this, that they faked that whole thing. Then and all you have to do is just do what you're doing now. Inject people with something, convince them that they have been exposed to radiation poisoning. Within 2 decades of the fall of Chernobyl, what happened to that whole region? Bison came back, wild horse came back, the wolf came back, nature came back. That's what happened. As the what and why did nature come back? Because he evacuated all the people around that area, didn't they? Because there was no more or hardly any human influence anymore, nature came back. Now this goes back to the Georgia Guidestones. And when we think about Chernobyl and the time period and when it happened and how close it was to when, the Georgia Guidestones. In fact, let's look up what the date was again, since I forgot the Chernobyl. Chernobyl. Chernobyl disaster master. Okay, so it was 6 years after the erection of the Georgia Guidestones, and this happened. I remember this was I was in high school back then. And it was one of the big reasons why a lot of us in my age bracket decided to get into environmental science, because of Chernobyl and the fear of nuclear bombs and nuclear disasters. And what happened within 2 decades, and there's plenty of documentation of it, all that nature, all that wildlife came right back. And if there was a half-life, they said, of 10,000 years, there should have been a whole bunch of horses and wolves and etc. and bison with 2 and 3 heads and all that. And we never saw any images of that, did we? In fact, what we did see was, yeah, and there's the Fukushima. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I was bringing that up to somebody else like a couple days ago at the shop down that I go to once a month, and I couldn't remember Fukushima, but I said the same thing. Fukushima, okay, Fukushima happened 11 years ago, right? And supposedly half of the Pacific Ocean is supposed to die. Has it died? That doesn't seem to be that case. Not at all. Yeah, 11 years. Of course, 11 is one of their sacred numbers as well. What I was thinking is too, when it comes to faking a look, when it happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki or whatever, those 2 bombs, is that amazingly these Jesuit priests, after these 2 places, which were really carpet bombed, just like Dresden, and they're made out of wood and paper, these homes and these communities. So it wasn't very difficult to level these communities, these cities, to the ground with bombs and burn everybody. And of course, you always saw images of people with their burned flesh and all that, but that's because of the bombing itself and the fire. And also, you can experience radiation like symptoms, being exposed to such high temperatures, to you and to your infants in your belly and in your womb. Plus, you could make dirty bombs, and they've known this for a long time. Radiation itself is poisonous at certain levels, and depending what radiation and what element we're talking about as well. But also, like guys like Eric John Phelps says that he feels that they use TNT to pretty much blow the place up too. Well, we look at testing of nuclear bombs, and the only videos that we have of them testing it, it's these stacking up of these, well, these TNT, right? A whole bunch of TNT. And if you have a whole bunch of TNT, man, you can make one big hole in the earth, one giant crater in the earth. Not only that, if you also had made sure that within that area that you had certain poisons laced in it, and that, so it's spread in the atmosphere. The people, the guys, mile, 2 miles away in the trenches, well, on top of that, remember, they're all receiving the poisonous death jab, and it's been going on for before World War II, during World War I, right? With the Spanish flu that basically outbreak happened in Missouri. I know I'm being a little convoluted here, but if you think about what I'm saying is, it's really easy to fake a nuclear explosion. Really easy to do that. And no one would know the better. And where's all this money been going? And where's all this great improvements to the cities, major metropolis and throughout the world? And how difficult would it be to lace these cities with a whole bunch of different TNT and whatever explosives you could use, thermite, whatever you could use? Drop a big bomb on one of these cities, and it doesn't have to be the whole city that blows up. It can just be a certain area, but a big enough area that the repercussions and the explosion, how would anybody even know? How would anybody know? You wouldn't be able to. Look how it's so easy to lie. People say this, Mike, they can't hide these lies. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It is easier to lie in this world than it is to tell the truth. Always, it is easier to lie than to tell the truth in this world. Yep, exactly 100 years ago. You're right. Absolutely right. And if you think about that too, it was 2 years later. Now that's 102, and you reverse that. That's 201, and that's the number of who? Pope Francis's apartment, and his 201 represents a big number in the Jesuits. Also, there's the end of the, gosh, what do they call that now? They call it the cannonball, whatever. It's a dedication that they have for a year plus. It ends this month. And this is a big anniversary for the Jesuits as well during this time as well. I haven't been focusing on it at all this past year, so I've been doing the one thing that nobody wants me to focus on, and that's read the Bible. But I'm going to do it because I made a commitment to do it. So, and even if it could take a big hit as far as popularity, as far as the internet world goes, I'm still going to do it because that's what I made my commitment to do. So, and my commitment in reading the Bible too is to be as honest as I possibly can reading the Bible, not try to sway anybody or try to win everybody over or try to make them think of me one way or the other. I'm just going to read it, what it says. My commentary will be honest about what it says. But back to this whole thing with how easy it will be to fake a nuclear war while never even having a nuclear war. convincing the world's population that a nuclear war did just happen or had happened. Yeah, a week. Um, it's extremely easy to do this. It's extremely easy to fake a lot of things. I mean, it's easier to lie to someone than it is to convince that person that they've been lied to. This is a truism for as long as there have been men. Our egos and our pride always get in the way of admitting when we're wrong about something. It's one of the most painful processes to go through as a grown man, to accept you were wrong about something again. But that's the only way you ever get to the truth. When it comes to nuclear war, it is extremely easy to fake it, and you wouldn't even know it. And while everybody is being marshaled off to this camp or that camp, or you got these food rations, that rations, but here, got to take this injection because this is good for you, and this will prevent you from getting this, that, and the other. And in the end, what it does, just as the root, the root words for this injection that starts with a V in Latin, the ventum of a spider or a snake, the brotherhood of the snake. And the brotherhood of snake has always been involved with death, slavery. Think about something called the Babylonian Woe. If you don't know about it, you should read the book while it's still online, or you can find it somewhere. And it's an amazing book that explains exactly what has been going on for thousands of years and the rituals in which they use usury, false religion or mind control, and war over and over and over again, generations after generations after generations, to destabilize us. How do they get people to start in having wars, fighting with each other? First, what do? First, they corrupt all the moral fibers and norms that society has had. That's the first start. Cause chaos in your churches, in your schools, in your political institutions, right? Then what do? Starvation or food shortages. Food shortages and hunger. Hunger is an amazing force that many of us in the United States have not truly experienced hunger. I mean, I've gone days without food, whether intentional or not, but I have not gone to the point, honestly, where I have had true hunger. When you get to that point, people will do anything to make sure there's something in their bellies. And the history of humanity has proven this over not just once or twice, but tens of thousands of times and tens of thousands of different incidences. Wars, war campaigns, etc. Hunger. What will cause food shortages? What they're doing now, what they've been planning to do forever. Shortages in energy and fuel and fertilizer. This is all intentional, folks. This is not organic. This is all deliberate. Right? So what do you think is going to happen? And by the way, and it's great to have your food storage, but eventually, within a couple of years, if you don't have a job or whatever, it won't matter anyways. You'll be just like everyone else. One of the other books I decided to start reading again, and maybe one ought to think about this book, although it's fiction, The Grapes, of Mice and Men. Can you see that? Of Mice and Men. And is fiction, but it's about a story about two guys, right? About Lenny and George. And of course, Lenny he's the big guy and he's retarded and all that. And George is this guy, this burden is taking care of him. But there's a greater message. And oh, folks, 100 years ago, 110 years ago, actually in the 1930s, in California, the migrant workers were not Mexicans. They were Americans from the East and from Texas and from Oklahoma and from other parts of the country that went to pick the fruit and the vegetables and all that in the fields for nothing and lived on the side of the roads. And it really, one of the things about, if you ever, John Steinbeck, regardless of what you might think of him, he did a good job, along with others, documenting what America went through 100 years ago. Well, 100 years ago was only 2.5 generations ago, according to the Bible. 100 years ago was when my grandparents were alive still. You understand what I'm saying? And if you go back to this whole thing about the Babylonian woe and this cycle that they deliberately, the oligarchs, the elite is what they want to call themselves, do over and over and over and over again, right? We have, once again, there's false religion or mind control. Today, our false religion today and mind control is scientism, the television, and etc., along with all the other ones from the past as well. And then usury, the banking system. You know, it's amazing about the whole thing, if one is honest about it. And we live in a world that for thousands of years, city states and people under the control of these city states have always used usury, fiat currency of one form or another, in which they use that to enslave their masses. If, and just, I know it just seems so idealistic, but if we rewarded each other not with money, but if you do good, then you get good received back, this world would change instantly. The moment we get rid of money, the world would change. If we said from now on, for you to, I mean, there's, if you, in order to, what now means something, what really represents wealth is not digits on a screen or coins or pieces of paper, talismans, as I like to say, but something that was tangible or real that benefited you and the community around you. The world would change in an instant. Everything would change within a generation. They don't want that to happen. What happens is after a generation or two, once people realize how they've been hoodwinked through the usury and mind control, brainwashing, they have to have war. War to eliminate the older population, the elders, and eliminate anybody that might possibly have the strength and ability to rebel against the system and cause great confusion and distress. But how do you create something that's so unnatural as having war? You have to create that scenario. You have to put the pieces in place ahead of time, because it's not natural, no matter what you think or what I think, for wars like what's going on in Ukraine. It's not natural what's happened there. It was the efforts of not only the State Department and the Pentagon and the United States government, but also NATO and inner city of London and all the different monarchies. And just don't forget that Russia is not innocent in this. Although they're saying, "Yay, Russia's winning," They're the good guys winning. No, Russia's have the same Freemasonic flag that you'll find in the Scottish Free Rite Masonry. The same double-headed phoenix. So don't be fooled for one moment that the oligarchs and the monarchies of in the East in Russia are not in bed with what's going on. And people talk about the World Economic Forum, and yeah, it's real, and the Great Reset is real. But long before the Great Reset and long before the World Economic Forum, there were the Jesuits and there was Freemasonry, and there were always the monarchies. Do you understand? The monarchies never went away. They never went away at all. And they actually believe they have a divine right to rule, and they want to set us back in a new feudalistic system using their advanced technology. But in order to set everyone back in this world back, they must get rid of the vast majority of us. Hey, Elizabeth, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going? Well, if this pays off, I just might. Although I'd like to figure out a way to show video while I'm talking instead of just looking at my ugly mug. And I don't know if StreamYard does that. But if StreamYard, I don't know, I decided maybe it's start to do a live stream again. I haven't done it since actually 2008. I think this last time I did it, 2019. It's been years since I've done it. I used to do it. And I don't know. Maybe I'll do it again. At least I don't feel like I'm all alone. I've been doing all this stuff for years, just me. You know what I mean? Just speaking into a mic and posting it out there. But man, they deflated my sales and with them knocking me out on commission in 2021. January 6th. Ironically of ironics, isn't this interesting? What happened with the Georgia Guidestones at 4 a.m. I woke up around 4 a.m. on January the 6th, 2021. Checked my computer and my channel, and it was gone. 4 hours earlier, it was still around. They took my channel down with thousands of other channels in the early morning of January 6, 2021, even though we had nothing to do with what's going on over there in Washington, D.C. Nothing. And here we are. Basically a year and a half later, and they now have done this ritual, this ceremony of blowing their monument to their great work. You see, I enjoy your thoughts, Michael. Thank you for sharing them with us. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks. Oh, by the way, I had a great conversation today with M.K. Davis. And M.K. Davis is famous, and you might not believe in the Patterson film or not. But M.K. Davis, he has done extensive work on the video of M.K. Davis in the Patterson film. Now, and by the way, he feels he shouldn't call the Patterson-Gimlin film because Gimlin actually didn't film or had any part in filming the film. Patterson did it, okay? Anyways. In fact, he even got a hold of the original stock footage of it. You and I most have never even seen it. It's not grainy. None of that cheap stuff that everyone else has seen has been seen and reprocessed a gazillion times over. So, but listen, we had a great conversation, and if you think about MK, that's his wife has received she took the death potion, and now her arm where she took it, her arm is all swollen up, and it won't go down, and she's in so much pain. It's been months like this, and he has to get new knees, and he's a good guy. He is a good guy. His understanding of the world is a little different than mine, but that's okay. Thinking about, I don't know if it will happen, but we talked about it. He didn't say yes. Maybe starting a new series. Back in 2017, we did a 24-part series on Bigfoot between me and him. And I was just new and green to the whole thing. And of course, he's been around forever and a day. So that'd be interesting to see two old men talking about. If you would have heard the things that we were talking about for 2 hours today, you would never hear what we were talking about in any Bigfoot show, any Bigfoot uh, YouTube channel, any Bigfoot community or other. We were getting honest about what was really going on, doing our best to understand what's really gone, the spiritual side of things that you're not allowed to talk about. It was great. And he has a lot to talk about. But anyway, I just totally sidetracked myself again. Where was I at with all this? Chernobyl, faking nuclear bombs, a Babylonian woe, the ritual, how they've used generations after generation after generation of usury, mind control, false religions in that. And you got to understand that temples, the religions that they use, the temples of higher learning are a form of religion, because all religion is, just like government is it's all but the governing of the mind and steering you in the direction they want you to go. And then when people have had enough of it, war. And it's this continual cycle that will never be broken until we, and enough of we, say enough's enough and we're not going to play your games anymore. And then where do we go from there? I don't know. Honestly, this is going to sound sacrilegious, but I think when I started praying against these people 7-8 months ago, I noticed things started changing. When I literally started praying against, and let's understand something, the Bible, the enemy in the Bible, New Testament, is not the same enemy that we have today. No, not even close to it. And, it'd be nice to see them saved. But when these same people are ruining your future, your children's future, your grandchildren's future, and not just yours, but throughout the whole world, I think it's time to start praying against them. Literally, and start naming names and start asking Heavenly Father to do something specifically to these people. Whether they have a last name Gates or Fauci or Francis or whatever it may be. It is time to start asking God to get involved in this situation. And I just suggest that if the Most High God and the Lord of all spirits, why not? What will it hurt at this point? What will it hurt? It's not about religion, right? These people are praying to their gods. These people are praying to their spirits. They don't seem to have a problem praying against you. And they seem to keep getting away with it. So maybe it's time to think about that. I know a lot of people have been conditioned from Christianity, that to that somehow we can't pray against our enemies. But let's understand, our enemies are not the same enemies that are in the New Testament. The enemies that Jesus was talking about were his apostles and disciples, fellow Jews. And Jesus came for his people. And that's what he was talking about. I'm going to tell you right now, there's an awful lot of people in our world that aren't our people, that aren't your people, and don't care about you or your children. And if you don't get God involved, as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did, as bad as they were, and listen, I've been doing this study. If you honestly read the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I know it makes everyone upset, or not everyone, but a lot of people upset because I'm honest about how terrible they were as human beings. But the one thing they had, apparently the others didn't have, is they called upon the name of the Lord, the Most High. There was polygamy going on, there was incest going on, there was lying and deceiving, betrayal of brothers and you know what I'm saying? He was not a good person, not even close to being a good person. But he had faith in God, and it seems to me that something's not quite adding up. But anyways, so this whole thing about what's happening, why they blew up the whole Georgia Guidestones, why did the government blow up the Georgia Guidestones? I'm hearing all sorts of people, all sorts of nonsense. Lightning struck it. Um, there's no way that somebody or here's the funny thing. How do I say this? Oh, the question is, why would anybody go there in the dead of night and blow up only part of it? Why not blow up the whole thing? Why did they blow up the World Trade Centers? And why did they, right after they blew it up, they tore everything? They literally shipped everything off the barges to China within days. And what happened with the explosion of the Georgia Guidestones? Within hours, they had heavy equipment over there knocking it all down. And so there will never be any evidence for anybody to ever know what really happened and whoever did it. Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? Now, who would benefit the most from that? A couple of, say, lone nutters or truthers or people who were upset with whatever, you know what I mean, or just wanted that abomination out, or the people who actually put it up, who would benefit now, 42 years later, taking it down? It would be the same people who put it up. That's who would benefit the most. And it would be very convenient to make up a whole story and a whole story in that 4 a.m. when nobody was around, and you would have just a little bit of video of that below explosion, 4 a.m, in which there's no video. Oh, I'm sure some video will come out of somebody, right? And they maybe paid off, or maybe, who knows? They've known for a long time that the people in Georgia and this country have been very upset about America's Stonehenge. Those who knew about it, and then and there's been numerous people who vandalized that monument because of the abomination that it was. But who would benefit the most to have it taken down now, 42 years later, in the middle of 2022, right after 4th of July, when no one's paying attention? And wouldn't it be convenient in the East, in my own town, including Ohio, all the way down there from Georgia and Florida, there's been lightning storms and thunders and showers, and it'd be just a very convenient time to do it now, 4 a.m. when no one's looking. Don't need to blow up the whole thing. If you're good at demolitions and, say, demolishing buildings and bridges, very convenient to just blow up the one and then come back later and just knock it all down. Plant the seed that it's been blown. Somebody's attacked it. Somebody doesn't really know what they're doing, right? Somebody doesn't really understand that well about explosives. And then you come in a few hours later with your heavy equipment and just knock it all down. And voila, it's gone. And within a year, people, within a year, the world will forget about this monument that's been up for 42 years, dedicated to eliminating 90 plus percent of us in this world. Do you understand what I'm saying? Very convenient that it happened now. And you know what? There's no way. Well, they're gonna. This is what they're gonna do. They're gonna convince you to some lone nutter, some truther, somebody on the internet. There's a group of them did that, right? Because they're coming back. That's gonna try to use this against us. But I'm telling you, it's them that took it down. We call it the government. We call it the shadow government. We call it the ruling elite. We call it the Brotherhood of the Serpent and of the Snake. They're the ones behind what happened today. That area, by the way, is pretty well. There's a lot of cameras, a lot of security. And if somebody tried to do that, knowing that there is 24/7 security, yeah. And let's be something else. Something serious about the monument itself. It was tacky. It was poorly constructed. It was not designed to stand forever. Not like other monuments and other statues and other obelisks and etc. They're designed to stand for generations. The Georgia Guidestones, if you pay close attention to its construction, was never intended to last forever. It was meant to come down. Just like the World Trade Center's buildings were meant to come down. You understand? 33 years later, after the World Trade Centers were constructed, they came down. "21 years after the World Trade Center, what happened? Georgia Guidestones comes down. 21 is half of 42. Do you understand where I'm coming from? It was very much ritualistic what happened today. 100% ritualistic. And don't you buy from anybody that some lone nutter, some YouTuber, some truther blew up that. No, he didn't. No, not only that, if that monument was not that significant or that important, would you have had all the number of, did you see the number of police, bomb squad, everybody else showing up there? Why do they have so many of those type of people when they really didn't need all those type of people for the blowing up of a cheesy monument? Why? Because they wanted to make sure that nobody outside of the scheme, the plan, got involved. Do you understand that? They blocked off the whole area and they tore the thing down, and they did it within 12 hours. Give or take it, whatever, an hour or two, whatever it might be. Within that same day, within a half a day. Anyways, I've probably been ranting on too much. And so thanks, Elizabeth, for showing up. Thank you, Valiant One, for showing up. You know, if it's just one person that shows up, I'm willing to do it. But you know, if no one's going to show up, I don't know. You know, I might as well just talk to myself. You know what I mean? And do what I normally do. But cool. Thanks, guys. And for those who may hear it, you know, and I will I'll probably make a short video of them taking down the the monument, and just think about what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying, man. All right. God bless you too, and God bless anyone else that hears this. And I honestly mean this. I hope Abba Father, the Most High, the Lord of all spirits, the Father of Jesus, will bless you and your loved ones, your family, a million times more than they ever blessed me. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now, I know I say that, but I genuinely mean that. And I hope to God that God does just that. Bless you a million times more than he ever blesses me. So with that, Charles.